And this is an area of expertise that I've been doing 40, 50 years, and that's the subject of gene regulation, or called epigenetics. So we now understand exactly how telomeres and the length of the telomeres affects the turning on of genes by folding over and coming in contact with genes, and in a way equivalent to what are called enhancer sequences to turn genes on and off. And the shorter the telomere gets, the less it's able to do that. And so that's why we see the changes that occur as we get older.
Okay.
And we haven't published that, but but I've spoken about it at many conferences. So it's not something that we keep a secret. It's just so much work to publish.
So I'm going to switch gears here. I know that our earlier call we had, we talked a little bit about Dale Carnegie
Yeah.
and leadership, and I just wanted to kind of wanted to get a better sense of your leadership style and relate some of the stuff that you learned from Dale Carnegie and how you've used that in your company and with your people.
Delegation. Delegation is one of the very key things to always make your employees feel like they contributed to the success of the company. That's that's actually better way of reinforcing or rewarding employees than actually salaries and bonuses. But there's so many things. I'm not a big proponent of Dale Carnegie. I was just a big proponent of the teacher I
Okay.
worked with. His name was Bill Kofed, or William Kofed. And I said was, but he and I are still friends. We're Facebook friends. And I took his classes, God, 30 years ago. But I was so enthralled with his skills, and so much I learned from him, that I ended up taking all his classes twice, and then went back for a third time as a graduate assistant. Okay. For his, I mean, but I was blown away with how my management skills and stuff like that, and my ability to make productive employees skyrocketed from doing that. And so so I think management training is a very, very critical thing, but I think it depends more on the teacher than it does on the system that you're using. And yeah, to this day, excuse I have a dog here who's choking on something. Come on, Dash. Back, this product that I mentioned called Telo Dash. Dash is because my dog's name is Dash. I told him, I said, please, because if people can watch videos, people can go to my website, which is www.sierrasci, SIERRASCI.com. They can click on a button called Key Videos and Documentaries, and they can watch videos on that. But what I do in a lot of my presentations at continuing medical education conferences and things like that is I talk about what aging is, why we age, why, more importantly, why did we never evolve a way not to age, how we age, how is the aging process, how does the aging process work? And given all that, what's our best way of not aging? Okay, I talk about these subjects. And so people, you don't want to hear me talk about all that here, but people can go, if they really want to learn, they can go watch these things. I don't believe that anybody that's ever published anything really understands the what, why, how, and how not of aging like I do. And I think I've put it all together. The why is the biggest thing. I mean, why haven't we ever evolved a way not to age? And same reason, why did we never evolve a way not to get cancer, heart disease, things like that? It's because it turns out that from an evolutionary perspective, what's the best thing that a species can do to survive rapidly changing environments? And the answer is to have as much diversity within the species as possible so that some members of the species will survive. It's like for a species to survive, not everybody has to survive, just a few of them have to survive to keep the species going. And so having diversity within the species is the best way to do it. And sexual reproduction was one of the best things that ever happened to increase diversity, because we're always shuffling genes that happen when sexual reproduction occurs. Genes get shuffled, every creates something new. But it turns out there's more diversity if you allow the offspring to interbreed as opposed to the parents rebreeding. Okay. And as a result, the species that evolved ways to eliminate the longer lived, or never evolved ways not to eliminate the longer lived, were more successful at surviving rapidly changing environments. So that's the only reason. I mean, we're smarter than evolution right now, so we can undo that evolutionary fiasco that has it caused survival of the species to be higher by eliminating, killing us as we after we have raised our young. So there's no evolutionary advantage to living longer than it takes to raise our young. Afterwards, we are just in the way of the success of the species. But yeah, that's
Yeah. I noticed you use the term longer live versus getting old.
yeah. I I like life's about living. It's not about getting old. So I don't like saying I don't like asking somebody how old they are, especially when they're a child. Well, how long have you lived? You know, it's more thing. But it's like we're too hung up on the word old, and therefore I accidentally use it all the time. But I still my preference is to move away from this word old as much as possible.
Now, I know one of your passions is ultra marathon. You
Yeah.
mentioned that you run every day.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, I'm over 6 years of not missing a day every single day, but that only started when COVID started because I was running ultra marathons all the time. I still do occasionally, but they're kinda risky if you're trying to protect yourself from COVID. But I I used to hold the world record for the most 100-mile races I run in a year. I'm the longest lived person to ever complete a race called the Ultra the High, which is a race through the Himalayas of northern India at 18,000 feet elevation. It's 138 miles nonstop running at 18,000 feet. Nobody has ever completed that race that was longer lived or older than I was at the time. You know, I've run the Badwater race through Death Valley at 130-degree temperatures. That's 135 miles long. I mean, at the lowest point of the continental United States, finishing at the highest point continental United States. I'm addicted to that sport. But when COVID started, I kind of like backed off and started just running every single day.
It's fascinating. Find that, that's hard to do in a lot of ways.
I think it's one of the best ways to. I mean, there's a lot of things that cause aging besides telomeres, and that's oxidative stress, inflammation, and I think the best way to decrease oxidative stress and inflammation is to train your body into the idea that exercise is normal. I mean, people that occasionally run, like let's say you run every 2 weeks, then you
Okay.
enter a marathon, you'll do okay, but you'll be on your hands and knees throwing up, and you'll be stiff as a board from inflammation for 2 weeks. Okay. But if you're somebody and that inflammation is really bad for you because inflammation actually is the number one cause of injuries, not the running itself. It's the inflammation that builds up inside your joints that causes the injuries. So if you run every day or be consistent and keep it fun, you never ever, sorry, but so if you, if you run all the time every day and keep it fun, and then run a marathon, your body's not going to think, oh my God, something's wrong. I've got to mount an immune response, which is what inflammation is. And there's something going on in your joints, something's infecting your joints. So the immune system goes to your joints. Your body builds what's called immune tolerance, which means it doesn't consider the pain in your joints that you feel from running to be an invader. It's normal. So you don't build inflammation, you don't build up oxidative stress. And that's one of the best ways to slow down the aging process is from doing the right kind of exercise. The exercise is like a Goldilocks effect. There's too much exercise, there's too little exercise, and then there's just the right amount of exercise. Okay. Now, when I say too much, I don't mean quantity, I mean intensity. So, I mean, running 100 miles can actually
A
be
lot.
quite an enjoyable experience, an adventure. You know, it's like I love doing those races because of the adventure. I will finish 100 miles running saying to myself, oh my God, I wish it would never end. Okay. Because I've had so much fun out there. But, you know, it's like on the subject of how to slow down your aging because there's nothing that reverses aging yet. Nothing on the planet. The closest thing there is right now to reversing aging is gene therapy, telomerase gene therapy. And the best place to actually, if anybody can afford it, and if you have a life-threatening disease, highly recommend it. Okay, is a company called BioViva, BioViva, run by Elizabeth Parrish. She's got a master's in business. She's not a doctor, but she knows more about the science than most scientists. If somebody in this audience is suffering from a life-threatening disease like Alzheimer's or something like that, there is no better option than getting treated by telomerase gene therapy or and some of the other gene therapies, follistatin, clotho. PGC1 alpha. These are different genes that can really they have a strong effect on possibly even reversing aging, but definitely slowing it down. I have seen patients who were suffering from Alzheimer's and were completely mentally gone, could not think, could not do anything, could not talk, get treated with BioViva's gene therapy, and suddenly they're talking again, they're walking around, they're going out swimming, things like that. But it's not it's so far not lasting very long. It's a temporary solution, and her company is working on ways of making it so that they can be retreated. This is, and I'm actually working on that kind of stuff too, trying because when you get treated with gene therapy, the problem is that you build immune responses to the gene therapy. It's hard to be treated again. So we're working on ways of solving that problem right now. But that's in terms of curing aging, that's the closest we are. And I highly recommend it for anybody that's been told that they have 6 months to a year to live. This is your best option because your risk of dying is a lot higher from not being treated than it is from being treated. That's the other problem with gene
Hmm.
therapy. There are some risks to it, but they're low enough that you would have to, low enough that if you are suffering from life-threatening diseases, your risk of not being treated are greater. But there's other things, antioxidants, anti-inflammatories. The best book ever written on supplements is the Kaufman Protocol, Kaufmann. People can Google it. It's written by Dr. Sandra Kaufman. There's other books like there's Dr. Amy Doneen and Dr. Caldwell Esselstyn, Dr. Chilton. These are people that have written really great books that everybody should read.
Question for you, because I know that as a part of the aging process, people, injuries, arthritis, things like that. What are your thoughts on stem cell therapy? And, in some cases, they're telling people if you have grandchildren or those type of things, save your umbilical cord. What are your thoughts on some of those concepts and ideas?
Extremely important. That is one of the most important things that people could be doing. But I'm going to undo all that as soon as I get my research proceeded further, where I'm making telomerase inducers that are potent enough to actually reverse aging, and that I need those very discrete ultra high net worth individuals to help me out there. But until then, stem cells and exosomes are probably the best things that people can do. PRP is also really good. There's a lot of really great things. Now, here's the problem in all these fields. It's also great fields for charlatans to jump in and pretend to be qualified to do good jobs. And so people have to do really good due diligence to really find the best place to get these treatments done. There's companies like I want to say Exo Earth. There's companies like Zeal Scientifics. Scientifics ends in an X. Those are companies that are really good, really coming up with some great products for the exosome field, things like that. They already have products. They're really good. I don't get compensation for saying these things. I just believe in really telling the people how to stay away from the charlatans. I mean, that's a really excellent place to go for stem cells because you're going to find there's thousands and thousands of places that will provide you with stem cells, but they're just doing it because it's an extra way to make money when they don't really understand stem cells really well at all. So you got to stay away from the people that are just in it for the money. But there's so many different things. And again, Dr. Kaufman's book, but anti-inflammatories, antioxidants, vitamin D and omega-3 fatty acids are probably the best things, most well-published things that actually do slow down the aging process. Quit smoking. Smoking is one of the best ways to accelerate your
Yeah.
aging. Same with obesity. Okay, here's something I think everybody should do. It's called the ALCAT test, ALCAT. It's a test. You can Google it. Company that provides it as Cell Services Sciences or Cell Science Services. I can't remember that, but they can find it. There's actually a woman that works there named Amy, who I think is one of the most brilliant doctors I've ever worked with, scientists, doctors. But this is a place where you do your blood work to identify the foods that you eat that cause inflammation. And everybody's different. Now, I'm not talking about an allergy test. An allergy test is very different because foods can induce inflammation in you and you won't even know it. Okay. But it accelerates your aging. Getting the LCAT test is a way of identifying those foods that cause inflammation in you. And you just stop eating those foods. And the good news is
Okay.
if you quit eating those foods for 6 months to a year, they aren't inflammatory anymore to you. Okay. And so you go back to eating those tests. So I get the LCAT test every year. Okay.
Okay.
Every year I find new foods I can't eat and find new foods that I can start eating again. But I think it's the best thing I can do. The and I'm I I don't, as I said, I don't want to get into promoting products, but I am working with a company, a scientific advisor for a company called Touchstone Essentials, and I'm blown away. The reason why I like this company is because they're they're like-minded with me. They have a lot of great products that decrease inflammation and oxidative stress and health things that think are really good. They have products that, sugar is really bad for you. They have a product that converts your sugar into fiber, and fiber is really good for you.
Yep.
Products that get rid of toxins, things like that. Their website is thegoodinside.com, which I think is appropriate. Thegoodinside.com. They do sell one product that I invented the ingredients in, and that's probably the most potent telomerase inducer there is, called Telovital, Telo-Vital. And I do get a royalty from that product that I use to fund my research. So that's one of the go-to-market partners that I work with.
Okay.
But I'm blown away by this company. And trying to think something else. The keynote speaker at a conference coming up in Scottsdale, Arizona, and this will be in just a few weeks from now. This would be if anybody is listening to this and wants to come and meet with me and stuff like that. Go to this conference because I really tell it all for what it really is. I'm not trying to promote products, trying to sell products, but I want everybody, the world to be happier and healthier. So people can come and listen to me. They can talk to me. They can ask me questions and stuff like that at this conference. But that conference is called the Boston BioLife Conference. So bostonbiolife.com. And it's towards the end of this month. And it's in Scottsdale, Arizona.
Okay.
And then I'll be speaking at two conferences called AMMG and A4M in Florida in April. And those are, I think, mid-April. That's the best way for people to actually meet with me because I love listening to questions and answering questions, listening to questions and answering them. What else can we talk about?
Well, I've taken enough of your time. I guess last question, I guess 50 years from now, what do you hope people say you were right about, even if it made them uncomfortable at the time?
Well, a lot of people think that curing aging is a bad thing. Okay, because it's going to disrupt the world. I mean, it's like it's going to cause overpopulation. It's going to cause, I mean, how will the young ever get jobs if the old never retire, if the longer live never retire? These are big problems, but those people don't realize how bad things are now. And I do spend considerable amount of time going to nursing homes, assisted living homes, hospices, and talking to the people that are there. I have a lot of friends that are in their hoods that are confined to these places and their families have deserted them. Their families can't afford to take care of them, things like that. And aging is really terrible. Buildings are just packed full of these people that cannot take care of themselves anymore. They're depressed, they're miserable, they don't get any interaction, stuff like that. The problems are now. Okay, 50 years from now, 50 years from now, let's say we had a cure for aging and aging was cured, and somebody said, "Hey, we need to ban the cure for aging because look at all the problems." Well, nobody's ever going to vote for that because the problems are now. The problems exist. Nobody's ever going to want to go to back to the way things are now. And everybody's just not aware of it. One of the really big problems is that people that are old, and I'll use the old word old here, they don't want to tell you. They don't want to tell their families and friends and things like that how bad it is because they don't want their family and friends to turn their backs on them. Okay. And I hear this over and over and over again. And it's like, you know, think about it. How many people in their 80s are actually wearing diapers?
Mm.
Okay. But they don't want their friends to know this. So they don't talk about it and stuff like that. But there's so many other problems. Being 80 is a real struggle. Okay. Even pretending to be healthy, which is a smart thing to do. If I was in my 80s, that's what I would do. I would act like I was the healthiest person. Aging isn't causing me any problems because I don't want friends and families to lose interest in me or give up on me and things like that. I want them to consider me as still part of the family. That's why the younger people don't really know how bad things are.
Yeah, it's a quality of life issue as well as a cost. When we look at the cost of healthcare just here in the United States, I mean, it's almost 20% of the GDP. And a lot of that is the population gets older. Those costs are going to escalate. And
Yeah.
I joke, but part of me is serious that I don't want to be hanging around if I can't do the things that I like to do. It's kind of, healthy one day and then you drop off the cliff, and there are a lot of things I like to do and be active, and it's, why hang around if you can't do those things?
Prevention is the big solution. Okay. And that's what I'm working on. I'm trying to keep us from getting old. I'm trying to keep us from getting to the needing all the health care and things like that. But we're spending way too much money in fixing the problems after they're there. Okay. And I would rather be saying, well, there's no point in fixing what isn't broken, you know.
Absolutely. Bill, where can we find you?
Uh, I'm going to give you my email address. I do like reading emails whenever I get a break from science, and I do like answering questions. So people are welcome to go to send me emails if they got questions. And it's not just aging, it's cancer, heart disease. My history is so I've been involved in just about everything. But my email address is Bandrews. That's B as in boy, Andrews, at Sierra Sci. That's SIERRA, like the Sierra Mountains, followed by SCI, short for sciences.com. So it's B Andrews at sierrasci.com. There's no spaces, no dots, no anything, no underscores. And send me, but they can also go to my website. And that's the thing I really recommend. I think that the best place that anybody can get educated about health and other things is listen to the videos in my website. Okay. So go to www.sierrasci.com. Sierra Sci is spelled the same way I just did for my email address. And then click on a button. It looks like a rectangular Twilight Zone button. Okay. Click on it. It takes you to my key videos and documentaries. And you can hear me talk about like the what aging is and why we age and how we age, and most importantly, how not to age. Okay. And never I rarely promote products. I mean, there are two videos where I do talk about products and how to and why they work and stuff like that. But I don't go out, you should buy this product, and I'm not going to get any compensation if you do buy it. My research will get royalties in some cases, but uh, that's it. And you're at least contributing to making the product better in the future. But yeah, I would go to those sites. You can also hear about me talk about what we talked about before was why cancer has not been cured yet. It's not because of the science or the medicine. And then there's also videos on how to know what's real and not real. Okay, because there's more quacks and charlatans in the field of anti-aging than any other field. There's so many people out there promoting products that cure your aging when nothing does. But I explain to people how to find out if it's real or not real. And I do have my own podcast called Up One, which is where I do what's called critical meta analysis of peer reviewed studies. Because even the companies that sell the charlatan products, they have found ways to sneak in peer reviewed studies and public literature that make them say, well, look at, we have a peer reviewed study showing that our product works when it doesn't. So I do critical meta analysis of analyzing these studies and figuring out the truth. Okay. So they can go to the Up One podcast. It's Up One. Just look for my name. I'm co-hosting with Sawyer Stone. Okay. And so we give these really brilliant podcasts on really what's real and what's not real. Okay. We take it up a notch, not just doing meta analysis of peer reviewed studies. We do critical meta analysis, which means with all my arsenal of tools that I've learned all through my training, I look at experimental design, data analysis, statistical theory, construct validity, all these different things going through the studies. And people when they do meta-analysis, they'll get a stack of two papers. One stack says one thing, one paper says another. When I get done, I only have one stack left because there's only one right answer. Okay. Anybody that has the other stack, they did their experiments wrong or they misinterpreted their own data. So yeah, so I recommend that.
I will make sure all of that is uploaded into the show notes. And Bill, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for being on Inside Farmer Leadership.